And I'm just checking out the chat. I'm the tech support crew today for this presentation, so I appreciate everybody's patience with me as we go forward. I think we have everyone admitted. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. At the end of our presentation, we will have a chance for question and answers with Dan. So feel free to unmute at that time and ask questions, or if you're a little bit shy or camera shy, or if your microphone or camera isn't working, please use the chat function and I'll be monitoring that as well. So if we switch to speaker view, and I'll just ask everyone to mute just so that Dan can be the star that he is for the next little bit as he presents, and I will we'll get this going. So as I mentioned, this is part of our Community Connections program that we've just launched. Dan's been great and actually has also written an article about one of his favorite spots to visit in Thunder Bay, and he's going to continue to do so to share our beautiful landscape and city with newcomers and students. So as I mentioned before, if anybody has something that they want to share, or a passion or an activity that they would like to spotlight, please reach out. I will be putting my email in the chat, and then we can connect. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the wonderful Dan.
Morning, everyone. Got a haircut yesterday.
You're looking good.
Well, you know, just open up just enough time to get it in there. I just want to thank everybody for this, you know, for joining me this morning, and thank you to Jen for this opportunity. I do like to talk a lot, so if I go on, you know, feel free to let me know, or if you have any questions anytime, just, you know, feel free to type it into the side. Oops. I'm not overly tech, so if I screw something up, feel free to let me know. So again, good morning. I do work at Walmart. Normally we do a cheer, but I won't make anybody do that cheer. I just want to talk a little bit about myself and, you know, kind of a journey that I've had to go through over the last few years, and made me much more appreciative for the beauty all around us. So again, my name is Dan Lloyd. I am from Thunder Bay. I lived here most of my life. I've lived in a few other areas. I've lived in Orillia, Barrie, Timmins, North Bay. I lived out in BC a little bit when I was a kid. I'm a father. I have two boys, one of which actually goes to Lakehead University. He's in his second year kinesiology, and my youngest son is 17. He's in his last year at St. Pat's, so they definitely keep me going. So what happened, I'll give you a little bit about the excitement in my life. So about 2 years ago, actually 2 years ago, a few weeks ago, I'll just give you the synopsis of it. So I was leaving work. I do work at Walmart on Arthur Street, and I had, as fate would happen, I forgot my phone, so I had to run. Usually we leave all together, but I forgot my work phone, so I ran back in. I grabbed it, and as I was leaving, I was alone, so I locked the store up, and I'm walking to my car. It was about 11 o'clock, and last thing I remember is a car coming towards me, just the sound, and then I remember waking up in the hospital. And to find out what had happened was just by, again, pure coincidence, no premeditated or no knowledge of this person, that I was hit by a vehicle, a gentleman with mental health issues. He wanted to kill somebody. Unfortunately for me, I happened to be the only one there. So I was struck by a vehicle. He was going about 70. I did a good number on the windshield. I guess it helps to be a little bigger. I was fortunate that I jumped into it, which apparently saved my life. So just a synopsis of my injury, because I won't go into too much about it. I had I don't know if you can tell, I got 37 stitches there. I had a fractured eye socket, torn rotator cuff, fractured hip, torn knee ligaments, tons of scrapes and bruises, concussion, broken nose, all those things that, you know, are now character building and such. So, you know, and then as time would go, so I don't remember too much about this day, other than waking up in the hospital as they were sewing. The next day, as I was lying in the hospital bed, and I was kind of getting updated by the police as well as the nurses and the amazing people at the hospital, I was told that, well, other than I'm lucky to be alive, that there was a chance I probably won't walk for at least a 1 year. So as you're sitting there, you're taking it all in, that's a lot to take. And, you know, I was there was definitely times where, it was tough, but I was at that point I made a decision that there's no way on earth am I going to take a year. I'm not going to let this just me. I'm going to use this, turn this into a positive. So I was in the hospital for a week. Then I was at St. Joe's, which is like a care center over here, for 3 weeks. At which point I was released. I was moving around a little bit and had an amazing physiotherapist at St. Joe's and amazing physiotherapists and doctors and such. As I was released, and within 3 months, I was back to work. About a month and a half, I was able to drive again, and I would say probably about 2 months, I was walking to some degree. I had crutches at that point, and I would say I was probably back. Well, I don't know if ever properly back to normal, but I was up and going. When I went back to work, probably with 3.5 months, I went back to work with just some crutches and some assisted walking. And there's even to today, there's still things that I have. I'm still waiting for knee surgery, things like that. However, one of the things that got me through, first off, is a strong support system. I'm very fortunate to have amazing friends and just a strong family that were there with me through all of this journey. My children, or my life, they were fantastic. And which I'm sure in their case, it was probably hard to see me like that, but I know talking to the nurses originally, I had made a point, and this is really important. I mean, things happen to everyone in life, and hopefully nobody else has tried to kill anybody on the call. Let's hope that. But it's all about perspective, and it would have been easy for me to just say, you know what, I'm good. You know what, and let it overtake my life. But I made a point, more so for my children, especially, just to be able to, I wanted to walk, especially walk again, and at this point, I've also been told I can't. I'm not. I won't. I'll never be able to run. I'm working on that. But I think you have to. It's all about perspective. So you take. Everyone's got tough times that are happening in your life. Maybe not mine, but whether it be anything that occurs that impacts you greatly. So it's all about perspective. And I really made a point to try and stay positive. And don't get me wrong, there were definitely days, many days where it was tougher than others to get up. It was tougher than others to get moving. Uh, First time I tried to walk was not successful at all. First time I did something as simple as walking to the washroom by myself. All these things that you take for granted suddenly were an obstacle for me, but they were an obstacle that I knew I couldn't let overtake my life. I, wanted much, much more. I was fortunate again to have strong support systems, as well as it definitely puts life into perspective. And I made a point at that point of saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to appreciate my life a lot more. I'm going to appreciate the people around me, appreciate things as simple as, the city that I'm living in. Sorry, just water, I promise. So as time would have it, I was back to work and I was walking more or less. I made a point to try and get out and see a lot more of the city that I live in Thunder Bay. Being from here, I feel like I had taken a lot of it for granted. So then whether with my friends or even on my own, sometimes I would ask for input on where I should go, things I should see. And I've always had enjoyed photography, something that I've never followed too much. So I figured I could combine these two things and just kind of enjoy the city. And so I grabbed my iPhone camera, made a point of trying to find the most prettiest things in the city. And again, for those of you who are coming to Thunder Bay and those who are already here, you'll know it. Or a lot of times, I know personally, I took it for granted. So armed with my exciting phone, I made a point. The first things that I was looking at, I really enjoyed sunrises, sunsets. So I just kind of got in my car, grabbed a friend, and just started snapping some pictures. And then in that, I found a lot of joy, and it was very calming for me as well. Sorry, just catching up. And I'll just kind of give you a little bit about things around Thunder Bay that you can see when you're here. Things that I enjoy. We have Kekabeka Falls. Again, a lot of these things I always took for granted, or as a kid we drove by it, didn't really stop, or with my children bringing them there. Um, Kekabeka Falls is about 20 minutes out of town. Fantastic, beautiful sights. There's lots of trails in there as well. You're able to there's either trails to other smaller falls there as well. But it's a very touristy place, and there's campgrounds there as well. So there's a lot to do out there. Terry Fox Monument is always something that's always I felt personal. If you don't know the story, Terry Fox was on his way raising money for cancer awareness across Canada, and his journey ended here just outside of Thunder Bay. So there's a monument there, and I lost my grandpa to cancer many years ago. So I don't know, I find solace by enjoying here. There's great views as well. You're able to look out on Sleeping Giant, Lake Superior as well. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information. Nothing too in depth just yet. Chippewa Park, which is on the other end of town. It's from the university. It's probably about a 15-minute ride. Great sunsets, great views there. There's beaches you can walk. There's also farther down. Like I said, there's a lot of trails around there. In the morning, it's a great place to view sunrises, sorry, not sunsets. Mount McKay is another, another area of Thunder Bay that is very touristy. Not just tourists. The pre-COVID, you're able to go up there actually and view the city. Fantastic views. And if you're energetic enough, which I've only done twice, you can actually hike up to the very top of the mountain. And again, only about a 20-minute walk, but it's definitely an incline. But just fantastic sights up there. They do a lot of native powwows and such on there, so there's a lot of information around there as well. One of the really fun things that I've come to enjoy around Thunder Bay lately is waterfalls. There's whether it be there's Cascades, which aren't too far. It's a nice walking trail to Trowbridge, Cedar Falls. There's some farther out as well. Even like when you're Thunder Bay, about an hour drive is Nipigon, and there's some fantastic waterfalls around there too. And last year I made a point of just trying to get out as many as I can. And when you're here, there's there's a lot of sites where you're able to chase waterfalls basically. This is oh, sorry. Whether it be a trail or whatever, there's a lot of beautiful things around there. And again, unfortunately for me, it took what happened to me to kind of spin it into just an excitement, or it's important to stop and just enjoy things that are around you. Life rushes so quickly. So so a lot of times I know myself, I missed a lot of the beautiful things around here. So whether it be simple things like walks or even cloud formations, rainbows, it's all things that I know I personally have taken for granted. After my accident, I made a point of just taking time and just enjoying the things around. If I'm going too fast, just let me know. If anybody's got any questions, you can see on here, actually, these are pictures. These are some of my favorite ones. These are just some sunsets. Just outside of town, there's an area called Stanley. So these are like some farm roads that I was driving down just for some sunset pictures. But there's, again, so much beautiful things around. This is a perfect evening, more or less, where there was a case of, sorry, I have not been looking at the questions. My favorite place, actually, Stanley is probably one of my favorite places to watch sunset, as well as if you go to Chippewa Park. If you keep driving down a little bit past the actual park, right to where there's the bridge is currently closed off, but there's great sunset views there as well. Pretty much anywhere in the town, in the city, there's beautiful sunsets. It's great because in the morning you get the Sleeping Giant sunrises, and in the evening, basically opposite end of town, a little bit of driving, but it's also fun too to drive. I may have gotten lost a few times, but it was part of the enjoyment just to find some good, especially if you're able to get some farm fields and barns and all those background things that underneath it just make it look even more beautiful. Hillcrest Park, which actually is I drove by this morning with a great view of the sleeping giant. Yeah, I'm just reading these chat here. So Hillcrest Park, basically, I grew up not far from Hillcrest Park, so it brings back to when I was a kid and my grandparents would bring me there. You got a great view of the sleeping giant, which, as you can see, there's a sleeping giant. There's when I was a kid, there was a huge slide there as well. You got great views. There's a play park there. There's a lot of field. I used to, play football in that in the open field there. In the summer and spring, there's a beautiful garden there as well on the sides of it. And then the sleeping giant. So these pictures, so sleeping giant, if you go down to the marina, which I'll talk a little bit about in a second as well. Sorry. Sleeping giant, I personally have taken a lot of pictures. As anybody who's in Thunder Bay, I'm sure has taken tons of pictures because there's always beautiful views from it. Almost anywhere in Thunder Bay, you'll be able to get some shots of the sleeping giant for sure. Have I done anything crazy to get it perfect? I have actually. Actually, just a couple of weeks ago, I walked in the snow, sank quite a bit, up to about my waist. Almost was scared that I wasn't getting out, but I was able to get out. As well as walking through some water. I've been on a boat kayaking one time. Almost, well, pretty much did flip it trying to get some pictures. But it's those once you start. If anybody takes pictures, you would do anything for that perfect shot. So once you get addicted to it or enjoying it, you pretty much would do anything for the good shot. Lakehead University campus trails. These are some of my, and for anybody that's coming here, it would be definitely the most convenient for you. But there's some beautiful trails. There is all along the university as well as even across the road. There's trails that bring you along the river. Beautiful shots. You can go all the way from university, pretty much. If you're all the way past the college, if you can follow Mackenzie River there, it's a long, long trail. Great shots. I know this year as well with COVID, especially a lot of times I would, on my lunch hour or whatever, I would enjoy walking around Lake Andrews because the university, because there's always so much to do and you run into people and there's all that hustle, bustle, and excitement. But with COVID, I'm sure as Jen can attest, it's a whole different world there. So it's more so just about the walking around outside, enjoying the views. And again, it's all about I culminate everything basically perspective. So, what's important to you? What do you enjoy doing? What's your passion? And just, following your passion. It's an easy thing to say. It's not always easy to do, but I know personally it was something that I always I always took it for granted until I was forced to kind of change my outlook on life. And, so appreciating the beauty all around it. Thunder Bay for sure is a beautiful city, and I've had this discussion with people before that say there's nothing going on. And again, with COVID, especially now, you're forced to where before we have tons of music at the waterfront or restaurants or walking tours or all those crazy things. But this forces you outside to really appreciate the nature all around us, which there are. We have again so many different areas. It's definitely something I overlooked, and now it's definitely my passion. I love getting out there. I love taking pictures of. And granted, I take about 100 pictures for every picture that I actually keep, but and plus, it's a good opportunity for bring your friends along, bring your family along, do it as a unit. Excuse me. Most of all, while you're out there, I realize that I went a little quick through here, but have fun. Again, so one of the things I started doing, if you look on there, of course, is my girlfriend was kind enough to give me a little. I am a comic book geek, so I got a little chubby set of superheroes. So I started taking pictures around Thunder Bay with chubby Batman there. So I think it's all about getting out and having fun. Life, there's so much going on in life that keeps us busy. It's easy to get distracted. What's important, but don't let it be something that happens in your life that forces you to stop and then appreciate it. I think with COVID or in my case, my accident, I've been forced to definitely stop, breathe, appreciate everything. again, I started with photography. I started actually selling some of my pictures, which has been just an amazing response from people. Tons and tons of enjoyment. I can't say enough good things about it. Oh, I lost my screen. Sorry. So this is kind of one of my Jen looks like stuff. So this is kind of one of my favorite things that we fall, we break, we fail, but then we rise, we heal, we overcome. I'm a motivational person. I love listening to motivational speeches. Everybody that knows me, sometimes I go a little overboard on it, but it's something, whatever keeps you going, whatever motivates you, whether it be a clip of something, whether it be your family, your friends, just appreciating beauty all around you. I can't stress how important it is enough to just take time to don't you try not to get overwhelmed by things that are going to happen, especially if you're from out of town, you're coming to Thunder Bay. Way welcome when you get here. That would be a lot for anybody, but it's important to just keep everything in perspective, keep what's important to you, and just appreciate the beauty all around. Any questions? I went kind of quick. I think maybe I went quick. I'm not sure. Any questions?
I think it was just perfect, Dan. And I want to thank you for sharing your story. And as you said, we'll open it up for questions. If people would like to unmute, you're more than welcome. If you don't have that option, feel free to put it in the chat, and I can keep an eye on that for you as well. And I guess it's more of an observation than a question, but one thing that I've noticed about you is even in the small capacity that I know you on a personal level, you always seem to, in every situation, find the positive. So what are some tips that you can maybe share of how you've gotten to that point where you can I feel like you've gotten to the point where you can just see the positive, and that I'm sure wasn't always the case. So how is it that you got to that point? Like, what was your motivation that brought you to this life of positivity that led to recovery and such a beautiful life?
I think part of it is just, for me, it was a change of perspective, and it's, you can't beat yourself up. Things are overwhelming and things are going to frustrate you, or things are going to keep you down, but you can't let those, you can't let them get that far into you that you can't see anything else. So for me, I mean, whether I definitely have frustrating days, and, through my journey, I definitely had days where it was like, wow, I don't know, but it's all about the next day you get yourself up, do your daily affirmations, or you look around and you think what you're appreciative for. I mean, in my case, the fact I'm alive is, short thing short of miracle. So I definitely, I force you to appreciate it, but, obviously not everyone has the exact same example as me, I hope. But it's just about, not beating yourself up when times are tough, because it's going to happen, or days are going to be rough. It's about, your perspective. Okay, so what do you appreciate? What do you love in your life? It's a simple case as, like today, sun on your face, things like that. It's just stopping, slowing down, and appreciating it.
And as you mentioned, you are a manager at Walmart. And you lead a very large team, and through COVID, it has been extra stressful, and tons of changes, and so much going on. So how do you inspire your team? Like, what are some of the things that you share with your team that you can share with us today to keep that motivation, and that smile on your face that you seem to do so well with?
Well, I think I've been fortunate. Again, the company I do work for was great throughout this process, and they were there for me. And I think I'm lucky to have a whole bunch of great associates that work for me. I have a lot of international students, which are always some of my motivation. I always ask them every meeting, what have you guys seen? Because they're always looking for things to do, and sometimes there's things that come up that I haven't even thought about that they've seen. So they're always great to throw ideas off, or they make suggestions for me. But I'm fortunate to have a strong group around there. And again, similar things, always trying to go forward with it. stay positive. Like we would have a morning meeting, just kind of, it's that time to kind of bond and throw ideas back and forth. So it's definitely motivating for me as well.
Jennifer, I do have a question for Dan.
Mhm.
Hi, Dan. That was very inspirational. Beautiful pictures. I kept taking a look at them and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, some of these look like paintings or just a postcard. So they're absolutely beautiful. And thank you for sharing your story. I
Thank
want
you
to
so much.
question for you around the impact that you've had so far. So you sharing your story, sharing everything that has gone on the last couple of years and your journey. Have you been able to see from someone else, like how that impact has had? Like, have they shared their story saying like, your story has really helped me, here's how? Have you been able to see any of that so far?
I know, thank you, by the way. I know in terms, well, my family for sure, just a different outlook. And, those people that were there with me the day of it happened, I know they've made a lot of comments as well as the odd time, like even through Facebook, everyone's favorite Facebook. I've gotten random messages from people that I went to high school with, saying that they appreciate the posts and it's very motivating and things like that. Definitely choked me up, and I don't really think anything of it. I just kind of do what I do. But things, just actually it was just last week. I got a message from somebody that I went to high school with. They don't live in Thunder Bay anymore, but appreciated, they thank me. And again, I don't think anything of it, but wow, it's definitely kind of hits you when somebody says something like that to you. So
And especially if you haven't talked to them for such a long time and they've reached out because you've made that connection. That's amazing. Thank you.
thank you.
Well, I know that over the last couple of years, your posts have definitely fueled me on days where I have needed a little bit of inspiration. There's a few people on my news feed that make me smile and make me say, get up and go do it. And you are definitely one of them. And I know that you're a very humble man. I know when I first approached you to see if you'd be interested in sharing your passion for the little adventures. There's so many people out there that share their passion for big adventures. And the thing that I love so much about you is that you share the passion for the little things. So it might be a really good cup of coffee, or it might be, a laugh that you shared with somebody, or a walk that you took at the marina. And it reminds me that those are the little things that I need to get up and do to keep positive and to keep going and to keep at it. So your humble ways, Dan, make me smile, I think, even more because I've watched your journey. I remember the day of your accident, and just being like reading it in the news and being in shock. And I think that if there was more people like you, we'd have more smiles going on. So for me, you've been an inspiration through COVID to get up. You put your posts up about things to do in Thunder Bay. And I think that's right. You can go do that. You don't even need a mask. Just get out there and get moving. And so thank you for that.
Thank you, Jenna. And I appreciate everyone's time as well. And you're so right. Like, it is easy to look at big picture, but it's the little things that impact everyone's day to day more. Thank you for this opportunity.
And if anyone has any other questions, we have with COVID, it certainly has made people really rethink their lives and do a reset. It really is about the little things. I agree, Michelle. It really is. And often when we're under stress or something happens in our life or a roadblock comes up, we kind of forget about that. We kind of forget that it's like the little things can really change things around. So thank you so much. I'll just leave it open for a couple more minutes. And we have Dan, you noted you have been told you may not walk or may not run. How do you take this information in and process it?
It was, oh, there you go. Sorry, I turned myself off. Or now I didn't.
No,
it was definitely a lot. It was a lot to take. So it was kind of in the process of, I don't even know how with it I was, but it was a day after the accident. I honestly, it was a lot to take, but at the moment I was just so appreciative to be alive. I mean, in all honesty, I got hit by a car going 70 with the intent to end my life. So it was a lot to take. But after hearing that information, it took a lot to sink in. And then my kids had come by to see me that day. And I think it was at that point that I thought, there's no way on earth I'm going to let this take a walk. So, and even that day that they try and get you physio right away because they want your body to kind of seize up. And it was not a good experience that first day. I couldn't even move my legs, but throughout that week, I was able to do a little bit more. And at that point, there was no way on earth I was going to take a year to walk. So again, and definitely very fortunate to have such a strong amount of people around me at the St. Joe's and the hospital for sure. But it's a lot to take, a lot to process, but I was just glad to be alive. So I thought, okay, if this is the worst case, it could be worse. And then after I saw my kids, it was my motivation to think, okay, there's no way I'm going to take a year to work here.
Can you remind me again how long it did take you to get walking?
I was, well, I basically, when I left the hospital and everything, I was already using a walker, which would have been after a month. And then within that second month, I was on the crutches. And then the third month, I only had one. So basically just over 3 months, I was walking properly. Well, not properly, but I was walking without any assistance.
That's amazing. Well, I think our questions are done. If anyone has anything that they want to add in, please feel free. And if not, I would just like to extend a huge thank you from Lakehead International and the English Language Center for you joining us today. And also for all the time that you've spent. As I mentioned, Dan has started writing articles for our students and sharing his beautiful photos. And it's a great way to connect them and let them kind of see the beauty of the city, even if they may not be able to be here with us in person. And thank you for sharing your photos with us today. Even though I've lived here my whole life, I'm always, my breath is taken away at some of your photos. And I think, I've seen that view 100 times, especially the one that you said, the farm field in Stanley. I grew up out there. Those are my stomping grounds. And I knew instantly exactly where that photo was taken. And it just felt like home. So thank you for sharing those as well. And thank you for your time and your inspiration and reminding us that even in times of hardship or challenge, that there is a bright light. You need to find it and follow it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank everyone for joining. And thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate the opportunity.
And everybody have a great day. And thank you for coming in. And hopefully we'll be able to do this again soon.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, and then there was 2.